In big-time politics, even when you're a big-time, successful national politician, you have good days, but you also inevitably sometimes have bad days. And today, for a few really big-name politicians who want to become president, today, for a handful of those guys, it was a bad day. First of all, spare a thought for Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida. Some genius in the Marco Rubio for President operation today signed him up to do a fundraising dinner in Connecticut. And at one level, that's fine. I'm sure the Connecticut Republican Party is delighted to have Senator Rubio speak at their event. I'm sure Senator Rubio was delighted to be asked to appear at the big annual fundraising dinner for the Connecticut State Republican Party. But if you are Marco Rubio, and you are vying for the Republican presidential nomination in 2016, it should not be beyond the capacity of your campaign staff to recognize that it's probably not a good idea for you, Marco Rubio, to be the keynote speaker at this particular event. This is the event. For 37 years, the Republican Party of Connecticut has held this annual fundraiser, and for 37 years, it has been held in honor of and named after Jeb's grandpa. Celebrate 37 years of the Prescott Bush Awards dinner. Keynote speaker, Marco Rubio. Prescott Bush, Jeb's grandpa. So that must kind of suck for Marco Rubio, right? He's doing that tonight. The dinner in honor of Jeb's grandpa. But even before Marco Rubio got to that part of his schedule today, he also had a scheduled appearance on the Fox News channel, which is obviously a very friendly environment for him. And he was on one of Fox's daytime chat shows, which is not known as a real hard-edged environment, even for Fox. They do a show during the daytime where the premise is apparently that there's a whole bunch of women on the set and just one man. That's the whole idea of the show. Poor guy. Yeah, not a tough political environment for Marco Rubio today. But then on that show, this is what happened.
If a nation expresses a desire to become a democratic nation, particularly one that we invaded, I do believe we have a responsibility to help them move in that direction. But the most immediate responsibility we have is to help them build a functional government that can actually meet the needs of their people in the short and long term. And then ultimately, from that, you would hope it would become a democracy.
That sounds like nation building. So are you saying that
it's not nation building. We are assisting them in building their nation.
It's not. That screenshot will be preserved forever in the history of this presidential campaign. This is the moment. This is the place where Marco Rubio explained patiently that this is not nation building. This is something totally different than nation building.
Well, it's not nation building. We are assisting them in building their nation.
Duh. Marco Rubio, I should just mention this. I always come back to this. Marco Rubio is actually giving up his seat in the United States Senate in order to make this run for president. And this is how he is running for president. It's not nation building. We are assisting them in building their nation. So Marco Rubio had a bad day. Also today was not a great day for the serving governor of New Jersey, Christie. Part of the reason Christie had a tough day today is this letter from the U.S. attorney for the state of New Jersey, the federal prosecutor in that state. In this letter, the prosecutor basically clears the way for a new subpoena in the criminal trials that are going to happen around the whole Bridgegate scandal. Members of his administration allegedly shutting down access lanes under the George Washington Bridge a couple of years ago for political reasons. This new subpoena that has been essentially greenlit today by the U.S. attorney in New Jersey, it potentially opens up a whole new world of information that nobody has had access to before about what happened in the bridge shutdown. I mean, those criminal trials in the Bridgegate thing were already going to be looming throughout most of the most important time that Christie will be trying to run for president. With this new development today, we now know those trials are going to have access to more insider stuff from the Christie administration than we ever thought we would get to see. So that is not good news for Christie today. And it's the kind of good news that means he's going to have lots more not good news for months and months to come. But on top of that, there's also this. Governor Christie made a decision to play softball at Yankee Stadium last night. And that itself is not a bad thing. It was for a good cause. It looks like he had fun at the event. But honestly, this is probably not the way he wanted people to think of him as he is gearing up to announce that he is running for president of the United States. Right? I mean, there is that rule that President Obama jokes about, which is that presidents and candidates should avoid putting things on their heads, right? At photo ops, don't wear funny hats. Don't let them put the helmet on you. It's not the image you're trying to put forth. Same thing goes probably for athletic outfits of various kinds, right? I mean, yeah, John Kerry doesn't mind being seen in his crazy biking outfits. But that's because he's never running for anything ever again. He knows how badly it hurt him that he was seen in his windsurfing getup when he was actually running for president. Mitt Romney recently did his charity boxing match where he went shirtless in a boxing outfit against Evander Holyfield. And, you know, God bless him, that was great. But there was a reason that Mitt Romney did that after making clear that he would not be a candidate for office again. And there's a reason he didn't do that while he was still running, while he was trying to convince everybody to pick him to be their presidential nominee. So, I don't know, Governor Christie, this was a choice. He did not have to do this. But alas. Also, today was probably not a great day for John Kasich, who's one of those guys who, on paper, really ought to be a high-flying, top-tier potential candidate. He's a former, very high-profile, very conservative member of Congress. After he got out of Congress, they gave him his own show on the Fox News channel. They thought over at Fox that he was such a good politician and so conservative and so charismatic and so telegenic that he ought to be a TV anchor. John Kasich is really well connected in the party, not only in his home state of Ohio, but across the country. He is now the governor, the sitting governor of the great swing state of Ohio. He's the current governor of that state. But today was a bad day for Governor John Kasich because of this. These were the results of the new Fox News national poll of the presidential candidates that came out today. And yes, at this point in the race, in any reasonable year, under any reasonable strategy, nobody should care about national polling, except for the fact that this year we have to. And the candidates really have to because of the debates, because Fox News is organizing the first Republican primary debate, and the way they're deciding who's going to make it into that debate, who's actually going to be allowed onto the stage, is that they're only taking people who crack the top 10 in the otherwise meaningless and totally non-predictive national polls. That's what they've decided to count on. Well, in the new Fox News national poll out today, John Kasich, governor of Ohio, former Fox News host, doesn't crack the top 10. And so he is therefore on track to not be included in the first Republican presidential primary debate, even though that debate is going to be on Fox News, his former employer, and even though that debate is going to take place in his home state of Ohio, where he is currently the governor. But at this rate, he is not going to be invited to participate in that debate. He'll be watching from home, which awkwardly is the governor's mansion. This is very sad, right? I mean, John Kasich technically hasn't declared yet. Heading into today, there were 9 officially declared Republican Party candidates. The next candidates who are expected to get in, who have set a date for their announcement, and therefore earned themselves dotted lines on our chart. They are in order in terms of when they're going to next announce. It's going to be next Donald Trump on June 16th, Bobby Jindal. After him, June 24th. Sometime after Bobby Jindal, we are expected to hear from Congressman Peter King and from Governor Kasich. And then it'll be your sister-in-law getting in, and then it'll be the 3 guys who drive trash trucks in your neighborhood, and then we're expecting a Cheney or 2, and then a whole arena football team from Idaho. They'll all be getting in early July, and then it'll be my mom, and then it'll be Mr. T, and then it'll be that Muppet, Janice, the one with the really nice eyeshadow. Come one, come all. Eventually we'll just switch to reporting on who's not running. But the latest official entrant into the race, the 10th major Republican candidate to declare officially that he's running, is the guy who jumped in today, and that's former Texas Governor Rick Perry. He made his announcement today that he was getting in. It was kind of exciting. Would you like to hear the official Rick Perry for President country rap song? You would like to hear this.
Please welcome my husband, Rick Perry.
Let's protect our border. To heck with anyone who don't believe in the USA. Rick Perry all the way.
Rick Perry, country rap song and all, made his big announcement today. And even with the song, it went pretty well. I was apparently really excruciatingly hot inside the airplane hangar where he announced. You can see he's a little sweaty. Wayne Slater at the Dallas Morning News tweeted, maybe not so smart to do Perry announcement in metal airplane hangar in June at 100 degrees. Quote, Perry is sweating like an East Texas rice farmer. So it was uncomfortably hot and he was sweaty. And he did have the crazy country rap song, Rick Perry supporter. But yeah, I mean, honestly, as announcements go, we've seen a lot of them already. There's going to be a lot more still to come. As announcements go, it went fine. It went fine. No big mistakes in the speech. He spoke in front of a C-130 aircraft, which unusually for a big political announcement was not a random non sequitur or vaguely insulting, right? Like Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan using an aircraft carrier as the backdrop for their big announcement, even though neither of them had ever served in the military, let alone the Navy. I mean, in Rick Perry's case, he did actually serve in the Air Force, and he did fly that specific kind of plane. He flew C-130s as a pilot in the Air Force. So it made sense to have a C-130 behind him, finally, right? Rick Perry entering the 2012 presidential race, when he got in 4 years ago, he entered with really high expectations and then he promptly tanked. But because he tanked so badly in 2012, he actually enters the 2016 race with a lot of motivation to not tank again, with low expectations, right, from everybody else because he did so badly the last time around. He's got nowhere to go but up, right? Still, though, even on Rick Perry's big announcement day, which I think he handled very well, he did get stepped on from two different political directions. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush has received a ton of attention recently for refusing to admit that he's actually running for president, refusing to set a date for his announcement. Jeb Bush chose today, as Rick Perry was taking the stage, to make his announcement about his own big announcement. So Jeb Bush chose today to announce that he will be formally entering the presidential race on June 15th. So that was stepping on Rick Perry a little bit, right? And from the other direction, while Rick Perry was making his own Texas announcement today, announcing his own run, he also got stepped on by Hillary Clinton, who we'd known ahead of this had also scheduled a big campaign event in Texas today on Rick Perry's big day. But today, Hillary Clinton made things doubly hard for Rick Perry by doing something that nobody really ever does on the campaign trail at this point in the campaign. Hillary Clinton today doubly stepped on what Rick Perry was trying to do when she did something unheard of. She actually made big and surprising, legitimate news with what she did in Texas today while she was raining on Rick Perry's hot and sweaty country rap parade. Nobody was expecting what Hillary Clinton did today, but she did it. It was big news, and that's next.